The second trailer for Venom, There Be Carnage has dropped today. I wanted to give my thoughts on this trailer. We saw a lot more footage here, a lot more of what's going to be a subplot, and I wanted to talk about it. Well, first of all, Woody Harrelson, who was in the post-credit scene of the first Venom movie, is a great actor. He's been in many of my favorite movies. He always knocks it out of the park with every role that he's in. And he was not my first choice for Cletus Cassidy, but when I thought about it, who really would be? And I think in the trailer it shows that he's probably going to do the best he can to nail this role. And I think he probably will because of how good of an actor he is. He's alongside Tom Hardy, who returns to play Venom, Eddie Brock. And the subplot of the movie appears to be something where the symbiote wants to go out and be violent and literally eat people. But not innocent people. We're talking about criminals. Like the Venom symbiote wants to go out there and fight crime, which is in itself a noble act, but Eddie Brock does not really want the symbiote to just murder these criminals. In some cases, they have to stand trial and so on and so forth. And so, because of that, it looks like during part of the movie, the symbiote and Eddie Brock are going to have problems. There's some comedy here with the symbiote's like messing with Eddie Brock and he headbutts him at one point. It's not too different from what we saw in the first movie. But right when Eddie Brock confronts Carnage, he lets the symbiote loose and they have a big fight in what appears to be a church. Special effects look great. I mean, this is really how Venom should look. The way he looked in Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi movie, was very much a letdown. Here he looks great. But it is weird, and I've said this before, you've been watching my videos. It's weird to do a Venom story, and even now a Venom and a Carnage story without Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the root character in all of these backstories. Always has been, always will be. And I'm a huge fan of the 80s and 90s Spider-Man run. You know, I love David Michelinie. I love Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane's art. You know, these guys knocked it out of the park. And I have several collections of the comics of that era. So I have a lot of familiarity with these stories. And I'm not sure if they're going to go for a Maximum Carnage type of situation here because Maximum Carnage had a lot of different characters appearing in it. Like from different, you know, all sorts of different characters, not just like symbiotes. But it's one of those things where Spider-Man was like the root of everything. The black costume began with Spider-Man. And there's all kinds of rumors of possibly possibly Andrew Garfield appearing in this movie as Spider-Man. But I'm not sure if I believe any of that. Because there's been talk that after Spider-Man No Way Home, that Andrew Garfield will remain the Sony Spider-Man, but that's just a rumor. Like, there's no confirmation of any of that, and I'm sure there's not gonna be because we don't even have a trailer for that Spider-Man movie yet, which does surprise me. Now, interestingly enough, they said in the trailer this fall. Now, the original release date for this movie, not the original because the pandemic changed that, but the release date that we had heard this year was September 24th, and it appears like that may not happen or it may be postponed. I'm not saying for certain it will be. Maybe they're saying this fall because different regions of the world are going to get it at different times. Maybe some will get it in October, some even in November. But the original release date was September 24th. So I'm wondering, you know, if anything changed. Besides the whole Eddie Brock having problems with the symbiote storyline, it looks like the plot of the film, much like what happened in the comics, even though it is different, is that Eddie Brock is investigating serial killers, you know, trying to get into the mind of a serial killer, you know, which is always an interesting case study. And so that's how he meets Cletus Cassidy, who's in confinement. And at some point, Cletus Cassidy tastes what appears to be Eddie Brock's blood, but it's actually the symbiote. And I guess that little piece of the symbiote, that aggression, that anger that the symbiote has had, manifests itself with the psychotic mind of Cletus Cassidy, therefore creating Carnage. And then, of course, Carnage is going to escape the penitentiary, and we have a problem on our hands. Now, I really enjoyed, you know, seeing Carnage. I love Carnage. Big Carnage fan. Love seeing him. I like seeing him here in this trailer. Interestingly enough, for those who don't know, Cletus Cassidy is not like Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock was a villain at first who hated Peter Parker, but he wasn't really an evil guy necessarily. He just had a lot of envy, and there were other emotions there, but I don't think he was necessarily a psychopath. Whereas Cletus Cassidy is a legitimate serial killer. He has no regard for human life at all. Like, he doesn't care. So when the symbiote attaches to him, Carnage is born, and it becomes a very sadistic character. I mean, he does not give a damn about peace or about sparing anybody. He can turn his body into various different weapons that he uses to slice people up, and he's just a problem. He is a problem, and, one that is going to be tough to beat. And he's always very cunning as well, even though he's crazy. If you've only seen Carnage from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, trust me, he was heavily toned down. That 90s Spider-Man cartoon, in my opinion, does not really hold up. I used to watch it when I was a kid. I used to love it, but it's way too kidified for me, considering how adult Spider-Man stories were at the time that I was reading, 80s and 90s. And even though the X-Men cartoon really did, the X-Men cartoon, I think, did cover adult and more mature themes. That show, the Spider-Man show, was just way too kidified for me. Like, there was too much censorship. Spider-Man didn't even punch anybody. Like, it's just really awkward to watch now. So if you've never seen the real Carnage, you're in for something, let me tell you. Or at least I hope they give us the real Carnage. I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet. They could always botch this. The first Venom movie did a lot of things right, but also a lot of things wrong. It wasn't a perfect film by any means, but it was pretty decent. And I'm wondering where we go with this. Anyways, I liked it. I like what I see so far, and I look forward to watching the movie when it comes out. What did you think? Let me know. Yesterday I did my Suicide Squad spoiler review. It'll be up on the channel right now, plus a lot more content coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.